I'm here with my friend, Manish. And Manish is on the Capel ISD board.
Yeah, school board trustee.
Yeah, pretty new, right?
Yeah, and got elected this May. So.
Okay, so first, tell me where you're from.
From India. I grew up in Mumbai.
Tell me about the path that brought you eventually to Capel, Texas. So, growing up, and then how did you end up here?
Yeah. So, my dad inspired me that I should consider moving to US. I got admission in Georgia Tech, Ohio State, Penn State, and Kentucky, University of Kentucky. And I chose Kentucky over the top 10 colleges just because I knew a friend whose older friend studied in Kentucky, whose parents I knew, and they were visiting him, so I will have one familiar face in US. And they could cook some Indian food for me. So just for one-time meal, I'll see a familiar face. I chose Kentucky over others. There was no internet at that time available to us. I didn't know anybody over here who could guide me. I was pretty much used to doing my coursework alone. All projects were done alone. So I had a lot of experiences which made me, when I moved to Chicago, my first job came from University of Chicago. And I saw a very different university environment. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to study much more. The experience I had, great studies, but it did not give me the complete experience. Got a job pretty soon. Did all kind of work at gas station and work. I mean, you can talk about any menial work, I've done it. And paid my dues.
Yeah, were you paying, I mean, it sounded like you had scholarship a little bit. No scholarship?
No scholarship.
So were you paying for all of this?
I paid for everything. I think it's past statute of limitations, so I can say I lied on my visa applications, my credit card applications, that I'm US citizen, so I could get the credit card, paid my way through credit cards.
How else you can do it.
Yeah, I had like about $18,000 credit card loan when I graduated at 18 or 20% APR, so because you couldn't get any funding or loan as an international student. And my dad did send me the money. I just threw it away in the first 5 months. I bought a car, I bought a home theater system. The important stuff.
College.
Yeah, from Mumbai, I came to Lexington. I needed some venting out. So,
you gotta make friends.
Yeah. Hey, my dorm room was really popular. It had all 50 channels.
Oh, wow.
So, I had a ProLogic. 1996 ProLogic was the most advanced home theater system which had come out. I had that in my dorm. But I had no money to pay my tuition, so I had to get credit card loan. There wasn't much of mingling friendship. As I said, even my group projects were done with me alone. I can
As in you weren't chosen?
Yeah, just to give you an example, we're sitting in engineering library doing group project and doing it alone, and all my classmates are on the side table doing it together, and I still got perfect GPA in my first semester. They come, ask me for help, and then go back without any invitation to do it together. Wow. So people had no problem. So there were experiences which made me, you know what, I know US more than this.
So what do you think was the reason that maybe you weren't picked for the group projects, or when they asked you for help and they went back? What you don't know, you don't know. It's change, and not knowing what to expect makes people apprehensive, and people are more comfortable among the things they know. So, for example, one day I was sitting with, I think just before I left in my third semester, I was sitting with one guy. He's been in almost every class of mine, so I knew him for about a year and a half. And he asked me whether I know how to charm a snake. So the only information you have from India, and these are graduate students, they're in their mid-20s, in 90s, late 90s, so it's not that you're talking about 1960 or something. Is if the only information you have is from the TV you have seen or some kind of show you have seen about India without doing any real research, then you have those questions. And I didn't mind. I answered a few questions, and those kind of questions went on until I, means by then, if you remember those days, there used to be Netscape and Yahoo search. No, Google wasn't born yet.
Right.
So you could still go to Netscape and do a Yahoo search and get some answers, but I was happy to answer it for some time, but then there was a question asked whether we still rode elephants. I said, of course. That's how I came to US, because I'm the youngest in my family, and the parking is by the weight of your ride. I got baby elephant. I saved enough money that could pay for my US trip. And he was like, and he was like eating it up. So you got to have fun with it. It just takes one person, either side, to be a little bit more patient and reach out. And then all differences just disappear, and you easily come to a point, you know what, it's not that you like everybody, but you understand everybody.
Right.
And the differences are just in your head. People are same everywhere.
Well, it's an act of courage, I think, to
it is.
walk across the table and approach someone different from you. But, well, you've already got my admiration. Just coming here by yourself, away from home, I can't imagine the kind of homesickness that you probably had at first.
Yeah, and I remember there was a period of 7 months I could not call back home. Phone calls used to be $1.25 those days. So what we used to do is we used to call and hang up after 30 or 40 seconds before a minute crossed, because then you could fight with the phone company and say, oh, my phone got disconnected. I won't pay for that dollar for that phone call because it wasn't even a full minute. So you learn those tricks how to make phone calls for free, but there was a time I couldn't afford to have a phone to make a phone call. So and now it's all free.
Right.
Yeah, like where was all this technology when I needed it? Yeah, exactly. It was literally do or die. I mean, I've seen days where it's okay. You can live on water for a few days. I've seen days like that. I've seen all kind of scenarios. I've worked in a gas station where after 2 days, when you're not hungry, your definition of stealing changes. You say, you know what? I worked so hard. He can afford this meal for me. I've worked so hard for him for so many hours. Your definition changes when you can't afford a meal for a few days. So
that makes sense.
And stealing is still stealing, but I convince myself, hey, taking a drink now every other day is not that bad.
Yeah.
Or warming up a pizza without telling my boss that, hey, I'm taking the pizza or paying for it. It's okay because I was there. So.
Right. Yeah, it's easy. Well, it's easy to judge when you're not put in that position.
Yeah. So when this is after graduation, I got my job, and Renu was with me. I went there for my graduation in 1999, and I took her to the cafeteria where I worked, and as the luck would have it, that guy was sitting as the cashier, and he recognized me. We hugged, talked for some time. He said, Manish, it's okay, I got you covered. I said, no, I don't want to pay for it. And he wanted to thank me for helping him, and he was very insistent, no, I got you covered, you don't have to pay. I said, you don't get it. I have to pay because I can't pay. It's not the same old days anymore. Yeah. I would really like to pay for this meal. So it's your pride comes back.
So tell me about some of the values that you grew up with that were instilled in you, and then beyond that, how, when you moved, how did they clash or how were they similar when you came here? Which of those values would you want to keep, discard?
So while growing up, the phrase I grew up with was family values, and everything was what you do, who you are, represents your family. One of the big things about Dallas was the Southern values, because I could relate them so much when it comes to respecting your elders, about hospitality, about just being humble and polite. Now again, we love Chicago, probably our most favorite city is Chicago because that's where we fell in love, that's where we had our first kid. So Chicago is very special to us, but when you're raising family, suddenly your values change.
Yes.
It's not just about having fun and friends. This is an incident, a small story about hard work that really changed my life. I've played that story million times over in my head. It was a national holiday, all the shops are going to open late or not open, I don't remember the details. So my dad said, go buy bread, and I'm
going down, every shop's closed, and I came back empty-handed, saying all shops are closed. Today is whatever day, the details fade. And my dad looked at me. I didn't ask you that shops are closed. I asked you to get bread. Go get bread. And like, what do I do now? And like, I'm like teenage, like 14, maybe 15. So I go down, and then I would never run. I was always hyper kid. So I would start running from street to street. There's nothing close by. Land up running to a nearby city beyond our city, which is like about, our cities used to be smaller than Koppel even, so about 2.5, 3 miles away.
Okay.
And I found somebody carrying bread in a cycle. And I said, hey, I'll pay you this much if you'll give me bread. So I bought bread from him. I came back. He didn't ask me how I got it. He knew obviously that everything's closed. He's a smart guy. And he didn't ask me. It was just matter of fact, yep, asked you to get bread. You came back after almost an hour, but you got bread. Okay, let's have breakfast.
So that was a lesson for you.
Yeah. Not at that time. At that time, I was like any teenager, really mad at him.
Right.
I'm sweating. Why an hour spent on bread?
He thought it was a lesson.
Yeah, he thought it was
Okay.
a lesson, which I realized once I grew up. Those small facts really don't matter. If you need bread, you go get bread. If you want to do something, your circumstances don't matter. You just go make it happen. Sometimes it won't be perfect. It might take an extra hour. It may not come right when you want it, but you keep working. If you want something, you make it happen. It all lies on you. Everything stops and starts with you. Don't complain. Don't make excuses. Just make things happen. So that was the life-changing hard work lesson for me. So
that's a good lesson.
Yeah.
You have a daughter sitting over there.
Oh, she's heard
Did you hear
that story. She's heard that story
like,
million times.
I got it.
The things which I would want to change is studies. Means like how studies was the thing for us. I totally understand that's not what that's not true for our kids anymore. And that's what we tell them. You have to be an all-rounder. You cannot put all your chips in studies. You have to invest in your health. You have to work out. You have to eat healthy. You have to do some kind of sports.
Right.
You have to have some kind of fine arts experience. And only then means, and we get scientific about it, how doing this activity activates a different part of your brain. So if you want a healthy brain, you want to be just generally smart, you have to work in all of these different criteria, and you will be overall more successful, because that's what we saw. Yes, education does guarantee you certain kind of success, but if you want to go from a point above that, say break some glass ceilings, you need to be an all-rounder. You need to be good in almost multiple things, not almost everything, but multiple things. You need to have more than one brain.
Okay, so you are on the board now, Koppel ISD, which I love. Thank you so much for your service. You don't get paid a dime for that, so we really appreciate it.
I do. I just double it and give it to all my friends. It's been a wonderful experience. And thank you for your help in campaign time.
Of course.
I really appreciate it.
Okay, so tell me a little about that experience, and I think that would probably tie in with my other question, which is you've seen a lot of change. We've seen a lot of change in DFW, and probably US at large, but especially here in our concentrated area. Population change, for sure, changing in the last 10 years. So I imagine that some of that change probably motivates you to be in the position you're in now.
A lot of Indians have moved in, a lot of Asians have moved in. Currently it's about 48% Asians in Koppel ISD.
Yeah.
So I started it for me because it brought joy to me. But I started hearing about that. Oh, we're glad to see another Asian or another Indian take part, because there's just not enough representation.
Right.
And I think that's also changing. Just for an example of Education Foundation, when I joined, I was the second Indian to join. In my batch, there were 2 other Indians, so we were like 2 or 3 out of a group of about 30 or so. And by the time I moved on, this year, 1/3 of the Education Foundation board was Asian.
Sure.
So
that's good.
so it's changing.
Population, so yeah.
I think there is a factor of you don't know. Like the story I was talking about my University of Kentucky days, where they didn't know what to do with me, how to deal with somebody who looks different, talks different.
Yeah.
And you think I have an accent right now, you should have heard me 23 years ago. So it's the same thing over here. They have never seen an education system like of public education system of US is very different than India's. The whole concept of parents volunteering in school does not exist. They've never heard about this. It's actually opposite. You're not even allowed to enter the schools. Schools get locked down.
I've heard this, yeah.
Wow,
so that's totally different.
It will take some time for parents to realize, no, this is something different. And this is something they need to give importance to. They need to find out time. Because you see most of the Indians, you take the temples and so many other cultural things, arts, fine arts, plays, all those are done by volunteering work of Indians to keep the culture alive. But they didn't know, or they still don't know enough, that public school is also a place that needs them to keep it alive. Otherwise, there will be so many programs that might get shut down because there are not enough volunteers.
I've heard, education, yes, they work their kids so hard. Then I can say, well, don't we kind of do the same thing with sports? Isn't it just the other side of the coin?
And they said, you're a trustee. Why do your kids feel the need to go outside? Isn't school classes enough? I said, no, school classes are good, but my kids always land up taking much higher coursework. If they were on level, they probably would be challenged enough, they'll get enough experience. But since they're always looking to go take a tougher class, so an extra help, outside help, helps them in getting ahead and just keeps them busy so they're not distracted with other stuff.
Right.
I said, but they kept on it's pushing me, it's like, this is not right, that you as a trustee needs to put an example that it's not about studies, and when you're spending extra time, you're making your kids go for studies all this. Studies are great value to me. I knew that music was very valuable thing for that family. I says, so how many extra classes for this music instrument you take your kids for? He says, yeah, but that's for music. I said, how is it any different? If you don't mind taking your kids for extra classes, or if they are in sports, you have 3 different coaches. One is for their speed, one is for their endurance, and you don't mind having 3 different coaches for your kids when they're in athletics, and don't mind taking them for extra music classes.
Right.
But when somebody is doing for education, it's suddenly bad. But for not education, it's completely acceptable. And I think I got across to them, it's perfectly fine. It's what you value and you put more importance in.
Right. Right now my kids are elementary. They don't see, well, mine anyway, I don't know about all kids, I can't speak for all of them, but my daughter's having a birthday party next week. She's having a kiddo whose parents are from Africa, a kid whose parents are from India, a kid whose parents are from Europe. Doesn't matter.
So it's very common to see this in elementary school. It's still common to see in middle school. It disappears in high school.
Yeah, that's great.
You take any of your friends' homecoming pictures or prom pictures, you will see a complete segregation. And I asked my daughter this, why does this happen?
Yeah.
And it's just,
parents.
It's parents. Kids are still friends.
Yeah.
But at some point, we as parents don't realize how much influence we have. There's a reason for that cliche, apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Kids take on to our values without we may say whatever we do, but if they see us among the same friend group, that's what they will adopt. And it's true, elementary, everything is homogeneous. Middle school, almost homogeneous. But when it comes to high school, there would be one token here or there of different mixes. Same thing like right now when everybody, we have a homecoming, all my kids' friends meet at our place. We do a photo shoot for them, and they can get dressed here and spend first 1 hour, 2 hours, and then after wherever they go for dinner,
Right.
spend some time over here again. So this like mostly Asian kids, Indian kids, Southern Asian, but maybe 2 Hispanic or 2 Caucasian. There's not a real mixture which
Yeah.
represents Cauca. And so that's why I started asking them. And I think it's us as a parents, we need to work on them because
Yeah.
no matter what we tell them, what we do is what they're going to follow up. So.
I have a list in my head of people, I need to invite those people over for dinner, those people, and yeah, that's a great point and a good challenge.
And potluck's the best way. Everybody bring in something. They won't go hungry, right?
I hate cooking.
Yeah. So potluck, hey, you can at least eat what you cooked. I always believed if you don't break bread together, you don't get friends. You don't become friends.
Right.
There's like barriers open up on dinner tables. So.
Maybe we should have eaten.
Yeah, next time. It's hard to eat and talk. So,
Right.
so
Just finishing my tea.
Yeah, exactly. So,
All right, well,
thank
anything
you.
else?
No, this has been fun. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah.